I never imagined that my marriage, which had seemed solid for over a decade, could unravel so completely in a matter of weeks. For years, my wife, Laura, and I had maintained what I thought was a stable, loving relationship. We had our disagreements, our occasional fights, but we always found a way back to one another. That balance, however, was shattered when I discovered her infidelity, a revelation that would set off a chain of events neither of us could have anticipated. It began subtly. I noticed late-night texts, whispered phone calls, and sudden changes in her routine. At first, I ignored them, attributing the odd behaviors to stress at work or the natural ebb and flow of a long-term relationship. But the unease grew, a persistent knot in my chest that would not be dismissed. Then, one evening, the truth landed like a sledgehammer. Laura had been cheating, and not just casually. The affair had been ongoing for months, a deliberate and calculated betrayal. Confronting her was surreal. She did not deny it. Instead, she admitted to the affair with a mix of guilt and defiance. "I can't do this anymore," she said quietly, her eyes avoiding mine. "I want out. I need to be free." Her words, which should have ended in dialogue or negotiation, felt like a verdict. My heart sank. But amid the hurt, a cold, determined clarity began to form. I would not allow her to leave without consequences, not out of vengeance, but to ensure accountability for the devastation she had caused. She hired a lawyer immediately, expecting support, negotiation, and a swift resolution. I had anticipated this, of course, and I had prepared. My own legal counsel advised caution, precision, and careful documentation of everything: financial records, communication logs, and proof of her ongoing infidelity. Laura's lawyer, confident and assertive, believed the case would be straightforward. That confidence would be shattered. The first meeting in the lawyer's office was a tense affair. Laura's lawyer, a seasoned professional, presented the usual claims: shared property, equitable division of assets, and custody arrangements. I remained calm, listening, taking notes, and responding only when necessary. But, as the discussion progressed, I revealed something Laura had not anticipated: meticulous documentation of her betrayal, including messages, photographs, and witness accounts that proved not only the affair, but the deliberate intent to undermine our marriage. The lawyer's reaction was immediate. His confident demeanor faltered, replaced by a mix of disbelief and discomfort. He tried to interject, to argue that such evidence could be mitigated or ignored, but the proof was undeniable. Laura, too, seemed stunned, realizing that the careful legal strategy she had relied upon was now irrelevant. Her narrative of wanting out had been shattered by the inescapable truth of her actions. Over the following weeks, the legal proceedings became a showcase of precision and strategy. I ensured that every step I took was calculated, measured, and immune to emotional manipulation. Laura's lawyer struggled to keep pace, unprepared for the depth and clarity of the evidence I presented. Every attempt to shift blame, minimize responsibility, or negotiate favorable terms collapsed under the weight of documented reality. The emotional impact was profound. Laura oscillated between anger, denial, and desperate attempts at reconciliation. She could not comprehend how her carefully hidden actions had been exposed, and could not fathom the consequences that were now inevitable. I, meanwhile, remained composed, focused on the practical outcomes: accountability, clarity, and the preservation of my own emotional and financial stability. The climax of this legal battle came during a mediation session. Laura, exhausted and frustrated, attempted to argue for leniency, appealing to shared history, emotional bonds, and what she hoped was my lingering affection. I listened calmly, then presented a detailed timeline of her affair, the documented communications, and the tangible impacts of her betrayal on our marriage, finances, and mutual obligations. The mediator, seasoned and impartial, was visibly struck by the thoroughness of the evidence. Laura's lawyer, for the first time, appeared flustered. struggling to frame a defense in the face of incontrovertible proof. In that moment, it became clear that her expectation that her lawyer could shield her from consequences was impossible. The betrayal was too deep, the evidence too complete, and the legal groundwork too meticulous. What she had assumed would be a simple negotiation became a reckoning she could not escape. Ultimately, the resolution favored not revenge in the traditional sense, but accountability. Laura was required to acknowledge the consequences of her actions, including equitable asset distribution that reflected the disruption she had caused and custody arrangements that prioritized transparency, stability, and fairness. The legal process, though stressful and emotionally taxing, ensured that her decisions had tangible, enforceable ramifications. In the months following the legal proceedings, I focused on rebuilding my life. The betrayal and the public unraveling of the marriage had been devastating, yet they also catalyzed personal growth, resilience, and a renewed sense of purpose. I engaged deeply with my work, reconnected with friends, and invested in hobbies and passions I had neglected over the years. Every day was a step toward reclaiming agency and emotional stability. Laura's attempts to contact me, manipulate outcomes, or regain influence were consistently met with boundaries, clarity, and calm. I learned that revenge does not require malice. It is often most effective when it is strategic, measured, and guided by principle. By ensuring that her actions had consequences and that I maintained control over the narrative, I reclaimed power without resorting to destructive behavior. Reflecting on the ordeal, several lessons emerged. Betrayal, while painful, can serve as a catalyst for clarity, self-assertion, and strategic action. Legal processes, when approached methodically, provide a framework for accountability and protection. Emotional composure, even in the face of profound hurt, allows one to act decisively and safeguard both personal and familial interests. Years later, the memory of Laura's expectation that her lawyer could navigate a path to escape accountability remains vivid. It serves as a reminder that actions have consequences, that trust is fragile, and that meticulous preparation, documentation, and strategic thinking can transform betrayal into clarity, stability, and empowerment. Her inability to handle the consequences, her lawyer's discomfort, and the ultimate resolution all underscore the importance of accountability and the resilience that emerges when one refuses to be victimized by deception. In the end, what seemed like a devastating collapse became an opportunity to reclaim my life, assert boundaries, and ensure fairness. Laura's desire to exit the marriage, unencumbered by accountability, was thwarted by preparation, evidence, and resolve. The process, while painful, ultimately reinforced the value of integrity, strategic thinking, and emotional fortitude. The revenge, if it can be called that, was served, not through malice, but through precision, clarity, and unwavering commitment to truth. Looking back, I realized that betrayal, legal challenges, and emotional upheaval, though intensely painful, can catalyze profound personal growth. By confronting the reality with strategy, composure, and principle, it is possible to navigate the worst circumstances, reclaim agency, and emerge with dignity and stability intact. Laura wanted out, but her lawyer could not handle what happened next. And that moment became a turning point in my life, a lesson in accountability, resilience, and the power of meticulous action.